Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about how my 6-month therapy process, imagination versus anxiety, can help you to move yourself away from intrusive thoughts, also known as obsessive thoughts. Okay, so I'm Orla Kirby. I'm a therapist and I specialise in helping people to move away from OCD, Obsessive Compulsive Disorder, and or severe anxiety. So in this video, I'm going to talk first of all about the two features of this 6-month process that I do with people that make it different from the other way that I work with people, which I just call ongoing therapy, where I combine Solution Focused Therapy and NLP. So what makes it different from that? The first thing being a very intensive start month, where I do 8 hours of therapy work with someone in that 1 month. And the second thing being a whole day of what's called timeline therapy that's inserted in perhaps at the 3rd month or the 4th month or the 5th month. And then at the end, I'm going to explain how the insertion of these two elements impacts the whole rest of the sessions. So even in months where we're not doing that intensive first month and where it doesn't happen to be the month where we're doing the timeline therapy, how those other sessions are impacted by the intensive first month and by the timeline therapy. Okay, so why do I do this intensive first month in this 6-month process? Well, because I find it builds really excellent forward momentum. So something that I found before I was even doing NLP, when I was just doing solution focused therapy, with people where they were starting off in a place that was really difficult. They were very low, very depressed, or very anxious, or struggling with OCD that was creating a huge problem in their lives, was that it could be quite frustrating at the beginning, because of course any therapy process isn't going to work instantly, and sometimes people would have been struggling with the problem for many years before even starting our process, right? Or they might have tried lots of different kinds of therapy, so there's already a certain level of frustration and just wanting it to be better, which is very understandable, of course. And I would find that sometimes, not with everyone, but that sometimes people would get to, the 6th session or the 8th session and feel like, nothing much has changed, or not enough has changed. Like, is this really going to work? Is this going to work for me? Maybe this just can't. Maybe nothing will work for me. Like, just get a bit dejected. Maybe they've seen a little bit of tiny change in the first couple of weeks, and then maybe they've hit a bit of a plateau, or maybe just, they've been really trying and nothing much has changed. And then from my point of view as a therapist, I'd be feeling, I really hope you keep going with this, because I kind of know that just around the corner there's this big shift or big change coming for you. And, if you keep practicing these various things and you stay open and you keep doing the work, you're going to see this big transformation. And I really want that to happen for you. But I could also understand the frustration, right? So the thing with working for 8 hours in the first month, and I do like 3 hours and then 3 hours and then 2 hours, so 3 sessions, but they're longer sessions, 3 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours, is that it allows for, because there's just so much work being done, it allows for a big step forward. So people doing that, if they are reasonably open-minded coming into the process and they do the work, they do the practice of things in between the sessions, they will see a shift. Right, even someone with very high level anxiety or OCD that is creating a very intense problem in their life will see a definite positive change, a definite shift in the direction they want, even within that first month. And that is really helpful. It allows you to have faith, right? It allows you to think, this is going to work. I can see it working already. I can feel it working already. I'm in a different place already, and okay, I can commit to this then. This is something that is going to work for me. And it also allows you to just to experience the therapy process then as more pleasurable, to relax into it, because you have more faith in it. You feel this is going to work for me, so then you can start to enjoy it more, which is also really important, I think. And another great thing about the intensive first month is that it lets me learn loads about the person, right? And not just about the person, but about how they are doing their problem, right? So about them, their personality, their learning style, things that are integral to them, but then also how they are doing their problem, what those belief patterns and thought processes are, and from an NLP, very kind of specific way of finding out about that, so that I can then look at all of NLP and everything that I know from hypnotherapy too, and pick out in a very tailored way the things that are going to work best for that person, and the order of doing those things that is going to work best for that person in a very highly tailored way. I would anyway work in quite a tailored way to the individual. I always do. But because I have so much information, I have more information right at the beginning, I can start doing that earlier and kind of to a higher level. Then the last thing I'm going to talk about here is that intensive start allows the client to, so say, imagining you are the client, allows you to learn more about yourself, right? So the client learns more about themselves really quickly. And that is helpful for knowing how best to approach the therapy process in a way that's going to work for you, that's going to feel the easiest, the most enjoyable for you specifically, and also, knowing how to get yourself into a really great learning state. And that's going to be so helpful for all of the therapy work after that. So those are the reasons then for inserting in this intensive start at the beginning of the 6-month imagination versus anxiety process. Then the other thing that is different from the ongoing therapy work that I do with people is this day of timeline therapy. There's actually a whole video on timeline therapy, just one video back from this in this particular series or playlist. So if you go back one video, you can watch a whole video on timeline therapy. But just to kind of give you the quick version here, timeline therapy is a day-long process. That's very intense. You can start at 10 in the morning and sometimes you don't finish till 8 at night. It doesn't always take that long, but I kind of get clients to leave the whole day because sometimes it does take that long. And you are in that day releasing all of the stored emotion, the stored negative emotion from your whole life. So it's very powerful. It's all done at a very deep unconscious level, using the conscious mind too, but it's a cooperation between both. And a very, very powerful process. So this relates to thought processes because of our beliefs having such an impact on the way that we think, right? In terms of intrusive or obsessive thoughts, and in terms of other kinds of thought processes too. In that, if I am thinking something, that may well be coming very strongly from a belief that I have. And also if I'm thinking something about something that's happened or that I've noticed, first of all, my perception of that thing that's happened or that I've noticed or that someone said or whatever my perception is coming through this kind of cloud or set of filters that are my beliefs. And then the way that I formulate a response to that is also based largely on my beliefs and my internal filters. So if I can shift the beliefs and the filters, I can absolutely have a really strong impact on what it's possible for me to think and easy for me to think, and what feels natural for me to think. And these beliefs are particularly, strong negative beliefs are very powerfully linked and connected to stored negative emotion from the past, right? And timeline therapy is a way of going through and releasing stored negative emotion from the past. And it's done in a particular energetic order. So it starts with anger, because of anger being almost the highest energy out of the NLP way of thinking about negative stored emotions. So anger, and then sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. Because guilt being very low energy. Like, if you feel guilty, you just feel like, oh, you don't feel like doing anything. There's an imaginative process where you are guided, in a deeply relaxed state, you're guided through a very complex and wonderful visualization process. And, it's not something you have to know how to do yourself. The hypnotherapist or practitioner guides you through to be able to release this stored emotion from memories. And absolutely, if you want to know more about the process, have a watch back of the previous video. And really, this is transformational in terms of shifting thought processes. So it's it's not, there's absolutely other ways. And if someone doesn't want to do time and therapy, if that feels too intense, or they just, for whatever reason, don't want to do it, I'm absolutely happy to work in other ways. And the next video in the series is going to talk about that. But if someone feels that it's a doable thing for them, and they are open to doing it, it's always my recommendation to do it, because it's just so fast, right? So it's going to allow you to take a great leap forward in your therapy work, in your therapy process, because in that one day, in the space of one day, you can release all of that stored emotion, and quite literally there's a big change that happens in your brain on that day, and that keeps happening. You kind of teach your brain how to do this releasing process, and for the next 2 weeks, really, we say that time and therapy is still happening. You're still releasing, you know, like kind of layers of an onion, you know, further and further, and it's a very powerful process. So that is one thing. Another great thing is that you perhaps are able to have a deeper understanding of yourself. So you get to where you want to be sooner, quicker, and also you have this deeper understanding of yourself, of like, who am I, what am I, and what are these things that I might have thought were me, or that I identified very strongly with, and actually I find they're not quite me, or I can let go of them. They can be released. They can be let go of. And wow, I have so much more possibility now. I have so much more freedom in terms of what I choose to do, in terms of how I can interpret reality, in terms of the choices I can make more easily. So time and therapy then, this incredibly transformative process where you release stored negative emotion from your whole past life. Yeah, and absolutely go back and watch the video on that if you haven't already. So lastly then, I'm just going to talk about how these two things, these two things that I insert in to the 6-month process that aren't in my kind of ongoing therapy work, benefit all of the other sessions in between too. So you might be in a particular month in this 6-month process with me, and you've already done the intensive month, and we're not yet doing the time and therapy, or maybe we did the time and therapy last month, but those sessions in those months are also going to benefit from that, simply because these two things, the intensive start and the time and therapy, allow us to go to a deeper level more quickly, and therefore any other therapy work is going to benefit from that. And the knowledge that we both have about how your internal structures are working allows us to move more quickly and easily in the work and all the other sessions to it. It kind of makes the whole 6 months more intensive, if that makes sense, because of these more intense periods of work, allowing us to get more done quickly and to engage in a really powerful way. It adds depth and power to the sessions in between as well. So that's a good deal of information there about my imagination versus anxiety 6-month therapy process. In the next video, I'm going to talk about another way of working with me in therapy, which I call ongoing therapy, where I combine solution focused hypnotherapy and NLP, or neuro linguistic programming. And I'll see you in the next video.